Hi, it's time to finish off the Q&A. That's right, it never actually ended, even though it's been a long ass time. But now it will, with this mega Q&A. I want to fly through a bunch more of those questions to not have too many left unanswered. Like this one, something about playing the Modern Warfare 3 Spec Ops. Yeah, maybe someday. Oh wait, we did that. Yeah, if you think about it, that was just another Q&A video where I took 2.5 hours to answer one question. The comments on that thing were hilarious, the reactions rolling in immediately. Very funny, thank you. I could talk about a few things I saw come up. Some people were sad that it was real and not a troll, like disappointed that the meme was over. Yeah, I feel that for sure. I did consider many trolls, but God, imagine that. I started out with all warfare is based on deception. And that's why this is actually a 10-minute Q&A, followed by 2 hours of black screen. Enjoy. Or I could have done some kind of April Fool's fake out where I played something else entirely. Just played Modern Warfare 2 Spec Ops again, pretend like it's the first time. What other games have stars? Getting 3 stars in every Cooking Mama mission. The thing is, I'd only want to do that as a prank if I had the real one ready to post the very next day to not be an asshole. And I was still waiting to be free enough to have fun putting it together, so some missed prank potential, and it is sad for it to be done, but it had to happen eventually. I saw one person who seemed sincerely annoyed that I gave in to the demands, and I assure you, I did it of my own free will. If I were giving in to demands, it wouldn't have taken 2 years. Like, I did want to do it, I just wanted the time to be right. I mean, I'd been hinting at it being the plan in many videos leading up to it, like the World at War thing, and multiple of the Q&As, like, what could I play through? I don't know. Well, it was fun. Amazing that so many people still somehow cared about it. Glad that's all done and behind us now. Or is it? There was another question I saw come up quite a bit. Maybe someday. Fine, I won't leave it at that. I'll be transparent this time. I am down to do the DLC, and honestly, it's not my intention to keep people waiting for an absurdly long time. I was originally thinking I'd do it now, before Vanguard, but that's looking like a no. I've become crazy busy with other work, trying to prepare as much as I can in advance of Vanguard, so if I tried to squeeze that in, I'd be rushing through it, stressed out, not doing it justice, which I want to do if it's going to sit on the channel forever, can only do it once. It's got to be fun, so that's going to have to be on the shelf for now, someday.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
What is your favorite Shrek movie, and will you play Elden Ring? Not in the loop on that game, so no plans to, sorry. Favorite Shrek? I mean, it's the first one, it's gotta be. Unironically, a great movie. It has layers of satire for the whole family to enjoy. The second one was good as well, though. It was the dreaded third Shrek, where everyone seems to agree disaster struck. I don't even have a solid memory of it, I might have only seen half. And I've not seen the fourth, although I've heard that the fourth is actually not so terrible. May have to check that out at some point. Had a few people asking if I would play through the early CODs, like 1, 2, and 3. Even a random mention on a Black Ops 3 campaign episode. Very glad you're enjoying that ancient series, man. Well, yeah, there's a solid chance. It would be kind of cool someday to have a playthrough of every single COD on the channel. I wasn't sure about the interest level in the first 3. They are all World War II. I didn't know if they might feel too similar, and I'm sure not nearly as many people are nostalgic about them as COD 4 and onward. But maybe some people curious who want to see what they're about, because I'm getting curious. Also, someone saying COD 3 could rival World at War's infamous difficulty at points. Definitely piques my interest there. I do love a good challenge. And I mean, we breezed through World at War, wouldn't you say? Way too easy. A pillar? Well, we did just play that, and now Vanguard's coming though, so gotta space out the World War II games a little bit, but it's another solid someday we could tackle those games. Also in there was a what do I think about BO4 having no campaign in hindsight? Still hard to say. Not ideal, but I didn't mind it then, and feel similar now. I guess it made sense. I would definitely rather have some fun in Blackout than have a half-baked campaign if it wasn't part of the vision they had for the game. No strong feelings there for me. Hard to say how it would have gone down if they tried to squeeze out a campaign. Next up, quite a few mentions for Halo. Any thoughts on the franchise generally, and if I would try the free-to-play multiplayer coming up? Sadly, I don't have much in the way of Halo thoughts or nostalgia, since I grew up completely out of the Xbox ecosystem. My only Halo memories are the tiniest bit of nostalgia, playing at a friend's house, messing around with the Forge and stuff. Had some fun, obviously could have been super into it, but I just don't have that history. So very unlikely that I'd be diving into any Halo multiplayer, sorry about that. What I totally could see doing someday is doing playthroughs of the single players. I know there's some epic content to experience there that I know nothing about. Maybe after we run out of COD campaigns, that could be next, or mixed in for variety. Aside from the Halo bit in this one, do you like Rollercoasters? Who doesn't like Rollercoasters, my dude? And hard shell versus soft shell tacos. Soft corn tortilla is the only way. That is the true taco. Hard shells are a fast food invention and a crumbly mess. Fight me. I mean, they still taste good, obviously. This is a pineapple on pizza debate. People are going to be very passionate. I got a few interesting single-player related questions, like what makes a single-player game compelling, and do I play any in a completionist fashion? I'll admit, it's been a long time. I've never grabbed enough by a single-player game to want to buy one. I'm not one of those Chad gamers. I just get sucked into multiplayers and live service MMOs, apparently. I do feel like grinding away at something is more rewarding when you're in a game full of other people, and it feels more permanent in an online game that keeps getting updated to stay relevant. So if I wanted to enjoy a single-player game, which does sound nice and relaxing, very wholesome, I think I would just want to be gripped by some combination of a good story and fun gameplay mechanics, enjoy it for the 5 to 15 hours or so, like playing through a Doom game, and then feel done with it. Playing through and overcoming a very challenging mode could definitely be fun too, and I could sort of see the completionism tendencies taking over. I'm not racing to the end. Like, of course, in a collectathon type game, yeah, I'm going to want to get every star in Mario 64 to feel like I played the whole game. But in terms of grinding anything, I think single players feel too temporary to me, and I'd feel like I'm wasting my time knowing that I'll put it down pretty soon and never return. Obviously, it's all relative, and in reality, the time is no more or less wasted than what I do in any other game. I know that. If you enjoy it, that's great. It's just about how it feels to me. So if I wanted to grind away at smithing daggers, it wouldn't be in Skyrim, it'll be in RuneScape. That crap's still going 20 years later. So I really don't want a massive grind in my single player game. Like I saw the mentions of Fallout, Skyrim, if I played any Bethesda stuff. Well, I know plenty of people who think very highly of them, but yeah, my gaming history is a bit limited, and that's another area I have no experience with. Sorry, I don't share that nostalgia. Another pretty related, favorite COD single player narrative. I mean, it just is Modern Warfare 2. Predictable answer for me, but I was young enough to be appropriately shocked by the twists, the betrayal, that was impactful, plus the epic reveal of meeting Price again after COD 4. Great story to me, and it's doubled in power by the emotion in that soundtrack. There you go, had to mention it. Every single video comes up sooner or later. Hey, did you know the Modern Warfare 2 soundtrack's pretty good? And then, what is my favorite game campaign of all time? Not just in COD games, and you like BF4. Yeah, here's the thing, my limited game experience coming in again. When you say campaign, that still implies a shooter game to me. Like, I wouldn't call Super Mario Galaxy a campaign. It was a very fun single-player game I enjoyed as a kid. But yeah, if we're talking campaign in an FPS game, it's still Modern Warfare 2. Loved it, and I haven't played that many outside of COD. Maybe we'll get there, as I said. After COD playthroughs, we can branch out to some Halo, some Battlefields. I always hear Titanfall 2 gets a lot of praise. Could hold some polls and see what people vote on to do a playthrough of. That's a long way out, though. Favorite weapon from any COD? Can't say that I honestly have one, but to pick, it would have to be the Modern Warfare 2 F2000, because in a game where everything was OP, it was bold enough to not be. Will you make a Cold War review like the Modern Warfare 1 last year? Fair question. I have no plan to, no. With Modern Warfare, I felt like I stuck it out the whole year, so it felt appropriate to recap everything in an end-of-year, looking back on the highs and lows type thing, which I suppose I totally could do with Cold War, but I think I'd rather just move on. I've said my piece. Review doesn't make much sense to me this time for a couple of reasons. One being that it's not a proper full-year review if I kind of checked out in, like, Season 2. You want to see my awesome level progression? Yeah, here's going for Dark Aether, finishing Dark Aether, and something happened there. Stopped buying the pass. I think I got the battle pass guns a couple times to try out some Warzone and some Mauer der Toten there. Yeah, so it doesn't feel fair to do an end of year thing when I've taken a considerable break. Glad I did though. Breaks are important. Makes me actually excited for covering certain parts of Vanguard. The second reason is that it would just be too much being a broken record. I think some of you could write my Cold War review for me. You know, I could do the bullet point version right now. Here it is. I actually quite enjoyed the campaign, found it fun, pretty unique, and the challenge system for it gave it just the right amount of replayability for me. I also quite enjoyed the zombies gameplay and doing that camo grind. Unfortunately, not a ton of map content early on there though. And the multiplayer, I don't think was all that terribly flawed. Like, the score streak system was whack, but it played okay. I just have zero interest or motivation to participate in what to me feels completely pointless, thanks to the combination of 1, a lack of things to strive for that are meaningful to me progression-wise, because of how the seasonal stuff feels hollow to me and the shop has taken center stage big time, and 2, feeling like striving to improve is a confusing mess when it's hard to track your improvement in any way or feel responsible for your success, being under the impression that the strings are being pulled behind the scenes to optimize for the most people spending the most hours playing, which just feels manipulative and gross. I'm not even that good at the game, I never have been, and I would rather get stomped by people way better than me while knowing that my skill is the only problem and that I could improve to do better, rather than be handed a selection of artificial wins and losses to keep me playing. That may not even be completely true, but it's a mental block that I find impossible to overcome until they speak about it, and they refuse to speak about it, which reinforces the shady feeling nature of it. So the multiplayer has lost me on those two fronts. But all it would take is something fun to chase for me to have some fun with it again. And there you go, that's Cold War. As I always say, I still get my value out of the games, getting to cover them here, do the playthrough, look into weapon XP, and that's why I continue to do it. I'm looking forward to seeing if Vanguard can bring anything interesting progression-wise, like what will become of the clan thing, as well as how zombies in Warzone continues to evolve. Anyway, there's the surface level Cold War review. I think going into any further depth in a standalone video would just be repeating way too much. Doesn't need to be said. Favorite endgame COD camo? You like BO4's reactive evolving dark matter? Yeah, that was neat with the spiky thing until it turned into the sun and blinded you. Dark matter's always solid, but there have been a lot of them. I'm sure if Treyarch tried anything else, people would say it sucks and dark matter was better. Well, a favorite coming to mind would be the Modern Warfare Remastered Exclusion Zone. A nice black and green, it was unique, a good balance of being flashy animated, but also more subtle compared to Dark Matter, and it was quite a headshot grind to get it, because above all, that's what I really care about. Like, sure, it's a bit of a bummer if the final camo looks less impressive than gold, like World War II's original chrome was pretty boring, but that got better, and ultimately, I really just care about the fun motivation to go through all the guns, and the prestige of having it, more than the appearance. The final camo could be a pretty plain, scratched and scuffed up version of the gun, and I'd be all about it, as long as it's unique and identifiable enough as the top thing. That's all. I even like the idea of the highest camo being gold, and only having regular camos below that, like a copper for the gun and a chrome for the category. I don't need crazy animated stuff, but I know lots of people do like that, and are unhappy if it looks underwhelming, calling it not worth the grind. I don't really see it that way. It's a grind for the sake of the grind. How organized are you when collecting footage for a video? Oh yeah, man, you gotta name the files, 100%. For any aspiring video makers out there, it is a nightmare to end up with a folder full of unnamed nonsense and have to watch through to remember why I clipped it. I am lazy with naming it right away, because I'm probably in the middle of some game, but usually I'll say something into the mic when something happens that I want to save, so it's easy to find later, or I'll explain why I'm clipping it right before I do, because I'm recording my mic on a separate track, so that'll remind myself what's in it. And then I can name it with tons of tags, just all the things I think I might search for, like bad spawn at the beginning, attack dogs gameplay, quad feed near the end. So if I want to talk about a quad feed challenge someday, I can search it up and see everything I've got. Very important if you do anything that requires collecting examples of things. Stay organized. Would you rather a game with a great narrative, terrible gameplay, or the reverse? Well, I've got to go with the reverse. Terrible narrative, great gameplay. I appreciate a good narrative, but if I'm playing a game, it needs to have good gameplay. If I want great narrative but terrible gameplay, I'll watch a movie. And movies are great too, but a game's got to have gameplay. It can be simple gameplay and a narrative-driven game. That's cool. Simple doesn't mean bad, but if the gameplay is truly bad, then that doesn't sound very fun. Just needing to press buttons to move the movie along, no engagement, no challenge. What are your thoughts on what look like a bunch of Canadian things? All dressed chips, pretty good, nothing crazy to me. Ketchup chips, also pretty darn good. I don't seek them out though. Poutine, that's more of an Eastern Quebec thing. I've only maybe had it once. But how can you go wrong with dumping more fat and salt on your fried potato? Pretty solid recipe for tasty and for heart attack. Finally, maple syrup. Now that I am passionate about. I almost never have it because it is super expensive, but it is amazing. I remember the first time having it as a kid at some French immersion field trip thing. They poured it out on a table of ice to serve it on a stick as like a mostly solid candy of pure maple syrup, and goddamn, it's good. I'm sure there are a good number of people out there who have not had actual maple syrup, and some who might even think that the big jugs of maple-flavored corn syrup or nonsense is what maple syrup is. No, sir, it is nothing like the real thing, and you've got a red pill, blue pill moment here of choosing if you want to experience true, decadent maple syrup, because you can't go back to the watered-down stuff. Did you go to college, and what did you study? Yep, I did a BSc in computer science. Great use of time and money. Godspeed, university students out there. Why do you hate melee weapons so much? Out of curiosity. It's always sounded weird hearing you say that without context. I'm pretty confused by this. I don't hate melee weapons with as much passion as you seem to suggest there, and I don't think I frequently talk about hating melee weapons without any context. I might mention in an update that I'm not excited by new melee weapons, but I feel like I often include some context with that, and all it is that it's the exact same playstyle no matter what. So adding the same new melee weapons again and again every year as new content is nothing to me. Here's a baseball bat. Again, like, okay, great. I mainly don't like that they're considered new weapons that incentivize re-earning the camos for them. I remember that kind of starting in Black Ops 3, which I found annoying on both sides, because one, back then I often wanted to get all the camos from a completion standpoint, but I didn't want to always be playing the melee playstyle because another new type of knife dropped. It was too repetitive. And two, it made everyone else in the lobby be using melee only all the time, which is not that big of a disadvantage in a high mobility COD. It's really not that hard to run around stabbing, and it's kind of annoying to have half of both the teams just running around with knives because there's another new one to grind. I liked the melee weapons in Modern Warfare Remastered, where they were just skins for the knife. You could pull out the broken bottle, the karambit. They were just a fun cosmetic. So I guess that's the full context on why I find new melee weapons not interesting and even a bit annoying. Even new guns I don't find that exciting, but at least they have more personality to use and they can shake up the meta. Melee is just melee, plays the same every time. I know they tweak some variables like the attack speed a bit, the kill range, the lunge range, even run speed, but I don't really like that either. It doesn't make them super unique, it just makes them inconsistent. I'd prefer they were just all the same and shared the same knife camo challenges. Anyway, not a big deal. If you like them, enjoy them. Is there any game you regretted getting 100% on? Interesting question. I don't think so, no. I'm trying to think from what angle would I regret it. Feeling like I've wasted my time? Sure, I question if I'm wasting my life and what the hell I should be doing with my time to build towards a fulfilling existence, but 100%ing a game is never at the center of that. Existential crises aside, maybe you mean feeling like it was too much suffering and I shouldn't have bothered, like ruin shutdowns? No, I think that makes it a funny story to have persevered through and show that in the videos. If something ever doesn't feel worth it to me, then I stop. I don't 100% it. Small things like MWR counter MVP, or World War II ninja diffuses, or like doing Cold War's seasonal challenges. If I persevered on 100%, I don't think I would regret it. I had some reason for doing it. Either it was fun, or it was fun to be covering it in some regard on the channel. I think getting to make guides, or showcasing completion of things, is a major motivator that makes it fun to do. It gives it more purpose, because helping people with guides is rewarding, and like even though my odds of booting up my old PS4 copy of Modern Warfare Remastered or World War II is very low, the journey I went on, earning those camos or the level 1000 or whatever, is sort of preserved on the channel to look back on. It's a similar thing to how it's fun to grind out a game that you also have a friend playing. It gives you more purpose to earn the cool stuff if you're sharing the experience. Best Nintendo console. That would be the GameCube, because it had Pikmin 2 and Double Dash, and it goes... I never actually had one though. What is the first game I ever played? Well, that would be some PC game I hardly have any memory of that my parents got for me, like James Discovers Math or Treasure Cove. Don't get me started on the banger soundtrack of Treasure Cove. But aside from that collection of 90s learning games, I played a lot of Hot Wheels games, like the Stunt Track Drivers, Bash Arena, Mechanics, Micro Racers, World Race, you name it. Good times, very good times. Don't get me started on some of those soundtracks either. Stunt Track Driver 2, oh my lord, dude. This doesn't mean anything to the vast majority watching. Yeah, it was all PC games though. The family didn't approve of any gaming consoles until the Wii. Are you into trophy or achievement hunting, 100%ing games? Yes and no. It's clearly in my nature to enjoy completionism, but the trophies I've always felt secondary. If I'm really into a game, like maybe one of the early CODs, then I definitely found it fun to check out the trophy list and hop into the campaign to knock them all out. Definitely satisfying, and some of those can be a fun challenge for sure. And now on Steam, if I see that big list of achievements on a game that I like, then yeah, it's fun to go through getting them all just to check that off, see it completed. But I've never been into buying tons of games just for the sake of earning the achievements. That does sound like a fun concept though, lots of variety, experiencing tons of different games, but with a mission in mind. If I'd been brought up on Xbox, maybe I would have been one of the people who cared about gamer score, but as it is, I'm much more about focusing on one game at a time. Gotta be in the top 1% of no-lifers, or what's the point? What games make me feel most valued as a player? interesting. I suppose it would be any team game where your individual impact really matters, where you have the potential to clutch it up for your team, where communication is important. You feel like a well-oiled machine, like CSGO comes to mind. And of course, it's amplified if you're playing with people you know. It's extra fun to clutch it up for friends you care about. Even something like Warzone, small team, you care about the win, teamwork matters, and you can have an impact on the game. Hard co-op games or challenges can do the same thing, like playing some Left 4 Dead 2 versus or pulling off duo raid shenanigans in Destiny 2, but if playing with friends is cheating the question, then it would be game modes like good old war mode, where I felt like I could make an impact on the game that moves us forward in the map and gives us more time. I've said it plenty, but it's so much more fun of an objective mode than Dom. I don't care about capping some flags. Who cares about winning that game anyway? And I know there are other things that came before War Mode, like I had lots of fun with Medal of Honor 2010's Combat Mission Mode. I wonder how many people played that, but it was the same thing. Those dynamic, progressible objectives are just a lot more interesting, make you feel valued as a player if you make the play to complete an objective. Rip having War Mode in Vanguard, Sag. Being a Canadian, does the American viewpoint of COD games cause any detachment or take away from the immersion or enjoyment? Interesting thought. For me, not at all. First of all, Canada is just America light. How would anyone even know someone's Canadian until they start saying sorry too much? Maybe if I were Russian, then the American viewpoint of a certain recent COD game especially would be pretty whack. But there's hardly any difference if there's an American or Canadian patch on some dude's vest, at least to me. And I also don't find I tie my identity to my nationality much at all. And in general, playing games, I enjoy the escapism. If I'm presented with character customization, I probably will make it look like me, unless there's a more fun option like being some cool robot. But it's not important to me that I'm represented by someone who looks like me. I'm much more likely to identify with someone who thinks or acts like I would, for sure. But when it comes to COD campaigns, as an example, if I'm a British SAS guy, hell yeah, let's do it. If I'm on an American task force, hell yeah, let's go. If I'm Nikolai with the loyalist Russians, awesome. Or in other games, if I'm a four-armed alien, hell yeah. You mentioned immersion. Well, I like getting immersed in a fantasy world and being someone else. I think authentic representation of different people and cultures is a great thing to appreciate and understand each other, but shoehorned in representation can have the opposite effect. It just makes people annoyed by the pandering. But it doesn't matter to me who I'm playing as or the perspective. If anything, I'd prefer to see different perspectives than my own. That's more interesting to experience how other people see the world. So I guess I'm quite the opposite of your question. Having a Canadian perspective in COD would do nothing for me other than potentially be funny. Maybe if the Canadian perspective were more different than the American one, I might feel more at odds with it. I could totally respect that. If I could have any game remade, what would it be? Honestly, I don't know. I might have said Modern Warfare 2's MP to have a fun time with repopulated servers, maybe some revamped progression like COD 4's remaster, but they'd pull some matchmaking stuff and it would be rough. I'm coming around on Modern Warfare 2. It could be hype, but I might also just rather leave that as a happy memory at this point. And I can play modded Modern Warfare 2. The graphics are more than modern enough, or I can look forward to something like SM2. And a lot of childhood games that I love, I could just go back and play. I don't really need better graphics. I might have also said the Gen 4 Pokemon remakes, but that's finally happening, and I'm sure I'll enjoy the soundtrack, but bad timing, sadly. If I end up getting a Switch for that, it'll be months later, because I'll be focused on Vanguard for a while. I mean, could be fun, but I know how the game goes. I don't really need to replay it. So honestly, I can't think of any regular game that I would be truly excited about. But to hijack the question a bit, because this isn't a mopey, oh, no games excite me anymore, I can tell you what could do that, if anything was remade for VR. I tend to not buy or get into many games. I like what I like. I stick with the few that I'm super into. But VR games and the massive potential that we're on the horizon for gets me real excited. I would buy VR games just to try them out. It seems like much more of an experience than my weird normal game mindset of feeling like they're all the same and needing to want to play 1,000 hours to even consider buying it. I've been excited to dive into VR for years, but it's always been expensive, or I felt too busy to really make the most of it, or I don't have enough space where I am right now. See, it isn't just Spec Ops. I guess I do this a lot where I blue ball myself waiting for the right time, but I've just been waiting for what seems like the right time. I know the tech will always be rapidly changing and made obsolete, but I just want to see it make a big enough leap to high quality, wireless, affordable VR. I want my first experience to be awesome, and getting to show it around to the rest of my family is the most exciting part of VR, trying to blow people's minds. I want to set up a whole VR racing rig with the force feedback wheel. Seems awesome. I know the Quest 2 was an impressive leap in affordability for a really solid wireless headset, but there were already rumors of the next one, and surely someone else can catch up and compete with Facebook, right? That'd be nice. Yeah, I still feel too busy anyway, too much going on, but someday, gonna get into VR, and it's gonna be hype. Too bad it doesn't really translate into good video content. Now for a few live streaming questions. Thank you for the kind words there, man. Yeah, I don't know about streams. I used to do them, of course, had plenty of fun with them, but in general, I don't have the personality for live streaming. I'm very low energy, but I also feel like I need to be putting on a show, filling dead air. I'm sure some people are going to say, well, no, just hang out, chill stream, whatever. I don't know. It's weird to me because I like to make what I like to watch. That's all I know how to do. And I find streams where people sit there and make the occasional comment dumb and boring. I enjoy having the creative control over the editing to make what I think is a well-packaged video. I'm also not that good at the game, so watching me for my COD gameplay is out of the question. I think I'd be watching the chat the whole time going 4-25 and people would be like, what the hell? And talking to the chat's fun, but eventually the chat runs out of things to say and I'm left hanging. Oh no. I could see streaming some kind of zombies grinding maybe. That could be more chill. Or I think it would be fun if there was something like a war mode where I could pull people from the chat to come play, where we'd all be going for the win. That was fun back in the World War II beta. Good times. I did seriously consider streaming the Vanguard beta, but then was like, what would I even be doing? I don't know if I even want to play for that long. There's nothing I'm shooting for in the beta, so maybe after launch when we're grinding for some challenge, who knows? It's totally possible to pull out some more streams, but I wouldn't say likely. Also, have I thought about getting back into Twitch? No, I don't think it would be Twitch. I think I would just stream on YouTube and make the VOD unlisted after. I know Twitch is a bit cleaner chat-wise, but I low-key prefer YouTube streams, being able to pause and watch on 2x speed to catch up. Anyway, Twitch seems like if I actually wanted to commit to consistently live streaming, which I don't see me doing, at least not anytime soon. I do like the part of being able to beg for people's Twitch Prime without feeling guilty like I'm taking their money. But yeah, I don't think I'd ever stream consistently enough for that to make sense to even try to get the button. That is a weird part of streaming too. I feel weird accepting people's money. Not weird enough to refuse it though. I could definitely use me some money. But yeah, weird part of the culture to tip streamers. And I guess I get it. It's fun to be part of the show with a pop-up, say something funny with the text-to-speech, which I would definitely have to turn on. Finally, who's that dude I showed on my channel? Yeah, I don't know. I'm the real Sour, the original VTuber, not those weeb weirdos. Maybe time for another trilogy of streams. Yeah, those were pretty fun. Who knows? That's the theme of the video. Someday. Except this is actually less than a someday. This is a maybe someday. Sorry about that, but thank you for the interest in the streams. Well, I'm going to call it there. I'd say this is long enough to finally wrap up this year's Q&A saga. I still didn't get to every question, left a good number of them. Some that I thought were actually pretty fun or decent questions that I maybe just did not have an interesting enough answer for. So I apologize if I didn't get to yours. If you really wanted to know something, ask away. I can just reply in comment form, of course. Well, for the rest of October, gonna continue to be a little dead, being busy leading up to Vanguard. Might comment on some progression news if that gets revealed and it's a big enough thing to talk about. We'll see. Until then, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.